Some new anthrax cases today, but few clues. As a few more people are infected, investigators fail to find out who's behind the attacks and whether there are more poison letters. Eye on America, the anthrax vaccine. The military get it. Should anyone else? U.S. jets play cat and mouse with Taliban missiles and win. And on the ground, Taliban tanks pay the price. Also, can the U.S. smooth its troubled friendship with Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. The anthrax attacks launched more than a month ago have hit a few more victims. Some new cases were confirmed today here in New York City and in Washington, D.C. They bring the total number of confirmed cases nationwide this month to 15. 3 of the victims have died. It is murder by mail and an effort to spread fear and panic. The FBI still has no firm evidence as to who's behind it. We begin our coverage tonight in Washington, where CBS News correspondent Jim Stewart is following the investigation.
The latest cases don't appear to represent any new attacks, but rather more infections from the same letters. In New Jersey, where all the known letters were mailed from, there's another tentative diagnosis of a postal worker. At the State Department, a worker in a remote mail facility has been diagnosed with anthrax, and NBC has a second skin-type case.
There's one other person who apparently handled the letter that was sent to NBC, who is now confirmed to have developed cutaneous anthrax.
Meanwhile, officials say they still don't know who made it, who mailed it, or where it came from, but they're certain it's all connected.
I can say to you without question, this is anthrax, and the samples from New York, Washington, and Florida are all from the same family or strain.
But while they're from the same strain, officials confirm, the anthrax in the letter to Senator Tom Daschle was described as fine and floaty, meaning more likely to be inhaled, while the bacteria sent to the New York Post was described as coarse.
One of my scientists actually described the New York Post sample as looking like Purina dog chow, clumpy like a pellet.
All of which leaves investigators pretty much where they have been, still believing there's no connection to any organized terrorism, but not ruling it out. No evidence that another nation like Iraq sponsored the letters, but not ruling that out either, and still canvassing U.S. laboratories and medical facilities for any missing anthrax. Meanwhile, the Postal Service says it's examining 200 mail facilities up and down the eastern seaboard for signs of anthrax. Postal employees lined up for nasal swabs. And in the Senate, lawmakers passed a bill making it easier for police to track down and detain suspected terrorists of all types. The president is expected to sign it into law Friday.
Federal agents say what they need is a break, someone who's seen something suspicious, maybe the discovery of another letter, or even better, catching someone trying to put one in the mail. Dan?
Thanks, Jim Stewart. Here in New York, the Postal Service confirmed late today anthrax bacteria have been found on a few mail sorting machines in a Manhattan postal processing center. In Washington, anthrax is still keeping some congressional buildings closed, but others reopened today, as CBS's Bob Schieffer reports from Capitol Hill.
Capitol staffers were so anxious to get back to their desks, they were already lined up when 2 more office buildings were declared safe and open. But the barricaded Hart building, where that letter with anthrax sent to Senator Daschle was received, remained closed. An entire quadrant of the building, offices for 12 senators, will be sealed off and closed indefinitely. Testing showed anthrax is still there.
We know there is ample contamination in that quadrant to cause concern, and which will deny any access to the quadrant for the foreseeable future.
Another part of the building was also sealed when anthrax was found in a freight elevator.
This is now the 5th location within the Capitol complex where we found traces of anthrax.
That just added to the jitters here.
We're all kind of flying by the seat of our pants around here in terms of getting our work done.
And when things finally do get back to normal, no one can say. Just a minute ago, it was announced that anthrax has been found in 2 more spots in the Hart building. And there is one other development tonight. Senator Bill Frist, who is also a doctor and is helping on the investigation, says he's now convinced that more than just the Daschle letter went through the mails here. He said it is simply impossible for one letter to expose so many people to anthrax. Dan.
Bob Schiefer reporting live from Capitol Hill. It was 3 weeks ago today that health officials confirmed the first anthrax case, a photo editor at a Florida newspaper. Not much to be concerned about. Government authorities told us at the time they were wrong, and much has changed. CBS's Wyatt Andrews reports tonight how we got from there to here.
In just 3 weeks, the threat of anthrax has evolved from low risk.
It appears that this is just an isolated case.
To the emergency now gripping the country.
This is weapons-grade material.
The attack has killed 3 Americans and hospitalized several others. But to some experts, the attack has generated more fear than damage.
It is an inefficient form of attack by biological warfare standards.
William Patrick, an expert in bioweapons, says anthrax by mail is a difficult way to kill. Simply opening an envelope, Patrick says, even one with the potency of the Daschle letter, won't necessarily put a lethal dose of anthrax into the air.
No, most of it, when I open up, very little is going to become airborne. Most of it's going to spill on my person.
In the post office deaths, Patrick believes the terrorists succeeded by accident. He thinks the mail sorting equipment, by compressing an anthrax-laced letter, forced a deadly dust cloud through the envelope.
And if you compress that material, obviously you're going to shove some of that powder out into that slipstream.
And is it kind of a mini bomb then?
It's a mini disseminator, a mini bomb, yes.
Most investigators also think that what looks like several attacks in New York, Washington, and Florida may well be one attack strung out over time. The Daschle letter was the deadliest, but all 3 samples are the same type.
They all come from the same strain of anthrax or the same family of anthrax.
By the standards of terrorism, this anthrax by mail attack has succeeded. It's created fear. But by the standards of real biowarfare, it's been ineffective. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.